J. Cole is one of the biggest rappers in the game. His unique lyrics and flow make him stand out from other rappers. Even though J. Cole is known for his creative bars, the beats and production in his tracks also play a huge role in his success. But why are his beats so addicting? Get ready, because in today's video we're diving deep into that signature J. Cole sound. And I'm gonna break down exactly how you can make a soulful J. Cole beat from scratch. So let's dive right into it. J. Cole is known for his soulful sound, so instead of chopping up a soul sample, I'm going to show you how you can make your own soul samples from scratch to get that authentic J. Cole sound. Make sure to keep watching, because later on I will also focus on the drums that make J. Cole's beats so addicting. To set the tone, I want something uplifting and soulful. So I grabbed the piano from Contact, and instead of going down the scale like I usually do, I went up to lock in that happy, soulful mood. Now before we dive deep into the rest of the sample, let me show you these chords and my thought process behind them. So if you take down all these extra notes right here and there, all we have left are simple triad chords going up the scale. All I did was to play some chords in a cool soulful rhythm and thicken everything up with some bass notes and the fifth note duplicated. Now here's a quick tip for soul samples. Add a walk up or walk down. This small detail adds movement and tension. It keeps the listener hooked and breaks the loop from feeling repetitive. The next step is to add some sort of violin. J. Cole uses a lot of violins and strings in his beats because they are an essential instrument in soul samples. To get that soulful violin sound, I grabbed a violin VST from East West and I came up with this melody. So all I did to come up with this was to follow the chords in my chord progression right here. As you can see, they share pretty much the same notes as the chord progression. So a great trick to make your counter melody is to use the fifth note on the chords, as you can see right here. This creates a good tension in your melody. And after the violin, I thickened everything up with some strings, playing just the chord progression. I also made sure to play these strings loosely and not 100% of the grid to get that realistic soulful vibe. Another essential element to get that authentic soulful sound is an organ. This one is pretty simple. All you have to do is to play just the chord progression again. But to make it more interesting, you can add these organ ones to make it sound more realistic, followed by the subtle top line melody. And if you listen closely, you can hear that this organ top line melody plays the exact same top line melody as the violin. This makes the sample cohesive so that everything was meant to fit together. Now finally, let's add some bass. As you can hear in a lot of J. Cole records and soul samples in general, the bass line is very important. It's the main factor that gives the sample some groove and bounce. So to achieve that, we find some pockets in our sample where the bass can shine and add some rhythm to it. All of this by following the chord progression. Key here is to get some rhythm going and avoid making big jumps. As you can hear, all these notes are pretty much next to each other. J. Cole's sample always have these crazy soul vocals in them. So to add more life into our sample, let's add some soul vocals. So you can go on Splice, and Arcade also has some good soul vocals in them. But in my case, I'm gonna use this plugin called East West. It has some authentic soul vocals recorded by real vocalists. I grabbed the Hollywood Backup Singers preset and the Voice of Soul preset and I came up with this. So all I did for the vocals was to copy the chord progression to the vocals and make it on time, and add some small changes by duplicating the bass notes to thicken it up. So now the sample is pretty much done at this point. But a J. Cole sample is not a J. Cole sample without some little accents, textures and embellishments. I added a fitting drum break using Contact Abbey Road 60s drummers kit, and some guitar chord slaps from Carvey's Vintage Essentials kit. We could leave the sample as it is, but the main part in J. Cole's beats is variation. J. Cole flips different parts of a soul sample to stop his beats feeling boring and repetitive. So I added multiple sections in my sample by arranging it differently and making some parts unique. For the second section, I decided to switch the piano rhythm for a more bouncy and groovier one. I also added the same piano chord but played on a guitar and kept the rest as it is. And now for the last section, I wanted the old piano pattern back, but I want to thicken it up even more. Inspired by J. Cole's production, I grabbed some brass elements to give it that needed energy while still keeping it happy and soulful. And this is the final sample. Quick break, if you like this sample, I got a full loop kit of samples just like these in my latest loop kit, Soul Records Volume 3. This loop kit is inspired by the sound of J. Cole, Kanye West, Meek Mill, Rick Ross and many more. There's a lot of samples just like the one you just heard, but it includes the stems, bass midis, starters and MIDI files. So everything you need to make your own authentic soul samples, or just grab a sample and flip it into some beats. And because you're watching this video, you get 30% off of the kit by just using the code SOUL30. So check the link in the description below, and now let's get back to the video. Now to get that classic J. Cole sound, I export the sample, pitch it up by 4 semitones, and I sped it up from 120 to 156 BPM. And now let's get some J. Cole drums on this. But before I add some drums on this, I want to get a rough idea of the arrangement first. J. Cole flips his sample multiple times to get some variation for different parts of his songs, like intro, verse and hook. Since I already created some different sections, I decided to leave the intro as it is, use the second section as the hook and the third section as a verse, because it leaves more room for J. Cole's unique rhymes and flows. So I pretty much left everything as it was except for the hook part. So here I decided to chop it up and use a classic sampling technique that J. Cole and other producers use. So repeat a catchy chop 3 times and resolve it in the 4th. J. Cole's signature sound is a classic boom bap rhythm with unique old school drum sounds. So all the drum sounds are used in this beat come from Carvey's Elements of Soul and Vintage Essentials drum kit. So first I grabbed this live hi-hat pattern from Elements of Soul to add some groove. After that, I want a very metallic sounding snare to add that old school flavor. One key thing that J. Cole uses a lot and that makes his production so addictive is the offbeat groove. In nearly all of J. Cole's songs, the drums always have a lot of groove and bounce. This is because J. Cole doesn't play everything exactly on the grid. He offset it slightly to add some groove and life to his drums. So to replicate that, I made sure to offset some drums slightly, starting with the snare. This sounds good, but in a lot of J. Cole's soulful beats, the snare is pretty much the backbone of the bounce. I want to get a thicker, fuller snare sound, so I layered it with a snappy rim shot. So to add more groove to it, I added a simple counter snare followed by a second open hat, making sure nothing is on the grid. Now the drums are coming together, but there's still a kick and a bass missing. Although not all J. Cole beats have 808s, more often than not they have a simple but very bassy and hard-hitting kick, playing a classic boom bap pattern. So I grabbed a bassy but hard-hitting kick from Vintage Essential and played the pattern, making sure some notes are off time. To enhance the drum bounce, J. Cole uses two simple techniques in his beats that are often overlooked, but they add a ton of bounce and character. He plays with the velocity to add some groove, and he uses kick rolls to add bounce and rhythms to his beats. So after playing in my kick, I dipped the velocities to add more groove and bounce, and I added a simple kick roll at the end of every 8 bar to lead the listener into the next section. This simple trick stops it from being so repetitive. Now this beat needs some bass, but to leave space for J. Cole's rhymes and flows, we can't just add crazy 808s everywhere. So we have to be a bit more subtle. So I grabbed a very deep and long 808 that hits every time the kick hits on the first downbeat. That way we get the low end this beat needs while still leaving a lot of space for J. Cole and his flow. Now before this beat is finished, I want to add one more element. A simple percussive sound that adds bounce and breaks the repetitive drum pattern. Percussion is subtle, so J. Cole uses it sparingly too. In my case, I used a simple bongo sound and I came up with the final element of the beat. Now before I show you the final beat, make sure you smash that like button if you learned something new, subscribe so you don't miss any new videos, and go check out my loop kit if you want samples to flip like this. Thanks for watching, and let's see each other in the next one. Bye.